I remember that day so vividly as if it's carved into my mind. I came home from work, tired but happy, ready to see my family, only to find my ex-husband sitting on the couch with his mother beside him. His face was red, his hands shaking. "How could you do this to me?" he yelled before I could even put my bag down. My heart dropped. "What are you talking about?" I asked, confused. His mother looked at me with that same cold, satisfied expression I'd seen too many times before. "Don't you dare play innocent," she said sharply. "I saw you with another man. At that restaurant near the office. Laughing. Holding his hand. Don't you deny it." I couldn't believe what I was hearing. "That's not true," I said firmly, my voice trembling. "You didn't see me. I would never cheat on him." But he wouldn't look at me. He kept pacing, running his hands through his hair. "You've been lying to me," he said, his voice breaking. "I trusted you, Emily. My mom saw you. She saw you." "She's lying," I said quietly, staring at him, willing him to meet my eyes. "You know I'd never do that." His mother crossed her arms. "You always thought you were too good for this family," she sneered. "Well, now the truth's out." "Stop it," I snapped, my anger rising. "You've wanted to destroy this marriage from the start." He slammed his hand on the table. "Enough. I can't listen to this anymore. I can't even look at you." I tried to explain, to tell him that there had to be some misunderstanding, but he wouldn't listen. He packed his things that night and left with his mother. When my daughter came home from a friend's house later that evening, she saw me crying in the kitchen. "Mom, what happened?" she asked, worried. I hesitated, trying to steady my voice. "Your dad, he thinks I cheated on him." Her eyes widened and then she looked horrified. "What? Why?" "Because your grandmother told him she saw me with someone else," I said, my throat tightening. "But it's not true, sweetheart. I promise." She looked away, biting her lip. "Dad wouldn't lie about something like that," she whispered. "Grandma wouldn't either." "She would," I said, tears running down my cheeks. "You don't know what she's capable of." But my daughter shook her head, angry now. "You're lying," she cried. "I can't believe you do this to us." Before I could say anything more, she ran upstairs, slamming her door. By the next morning she was gone. Her father had picked her up and she refused to speak to me again. The divorce came quickly after that. He filed within weeks and I was too broken to fight it. During the hearings, my daughter made her choice clear. She wanted to live with her dad. The court respected her wishes since she was 17. We divided everything quietly. We agreed not to bring the cheating accusations into the legal proceedings. I didn't have the energy to argue. I let him keep the house because I couldn't stand being there anymore. I packed what little I had left and moved between relatives' couches until I could find a small apartment of my own. The court granted him full custody with visitation rights for me, though my daughter never wanted to see me. I didn't blame her, but it broke me. I was exhausted, emotionally drained, and by the time I stood in that courtroom I could barely hold myself together. I signed off my rights because I thought it was the only way to stop the pain. I remember sitting there under those harsh lights, my hands trembling, my clothes wrinkled from too many sleepless nights. My reflection in the courtroom window looked pale and hollow. I looked like a mess in court too. I sat staring at my phone for hours before finally typing the message. My hands were shaking. I knew I had to say something to my daughter about what happened at the restaurant, about the way she blindsided me by bringing her father without telling me. I wasn't angry as much as I was exhausted. I wrote carefully, "I love you, but what happened wasn't fair to me. I need some space and time to process things. If you want to talk, it has to be just the two of us. I can't do this if you keep bringing your dad into it." I hovered over the send button for a long time before pressing it. A few minutes later, her reply came through almost instantly. "Mom, wait," she said, "there's something I need to tell you. Something I just found out today." My stomach twisted. "Something else?" I asked what she meant. She hesitated, typing and deleting for a while, then finally sent a long paragraph that made my hands go cold as I read it. She said that her father and grandmother had another fight that morning. Apparently, her grandmother had finally snapped and screamed everything out in anger, every cruel, manipulative thing she'd done. She said there was someone else involved. My daughter's message continued. "She paid one of your old friends to lie. To tell Dad that he was the one you cheated with." I couldn't believe what I was reading. My head started pounding. "What?" I wrote back. "She paid someone?" "Yes," my daughter said. "She paid him $500. Grandma admitted it during the argument. Dad's furious. He kicked her out." I just sat there staring at my phone. My vision blurred from the tears. I could feel my heart pounding in my ears. She actually did that, I whispered aloud, more to myself than anyone. She really went that far. I felt sick. My daughter had gone silent during the divorce, so I never knew. No one had told me anything, not her, not him, not his mother. The entire time I had been fighting a ghost of a lie. Why didn't your father tell me? I finally typed. He said he thought you'd just deny it, she wrote. I let out a bitter laugh through my tears. Deny it? I muttered. Of course I would deny it. Because it wasn't true. I remembered that awful night years ago, standing in our living room, him glaring at me, shouting that I'd betrayed him. I'd begged him to listen, even handed him my phone. Check my messages, I'd said. There's nothing there. Please just look. But he'd crossed his arms and said flatly, no. I already know. He confessed. I don't need to see anything else. He didn't even tell me who he was. Just that someone had confessed, and that was enough for him. Now I knew. It was all a lie, a paid lie. His mother's doing from the start. I pressed my palms against my eyes and cried until my chest ached. Who does that? I said quietly. Who pays someone to destroy a marriage? It was monstrous. Manipulative beyond comprehension. And he believed her, never questioned it, never gave me a chance. I felt the anger rising again, hot and bitter. She's evil, I whispered. And he let her do it. All those years of pain, all that time spent thinking I'd failed my family, it had all been built on a lie. And he never even knew the confession was fake until a few days ago. When I found out what had really happened, I sat in silence for a long time. For years, 4 long years, and I hadn't known the truth. No one had told me. Not my ex-husband, not his mother, not even my daughter, who at the time had given me the coldest silence I had ever known. Everything suddenly made sense. All the confusion, all the unanswered questions, the way he left so quickly, the way she looked at me with disgust back then. I used to think it was all because of one lie, but now I knew it was far deeper. His mother had built an entire story around me, paid people, pulled strings, whispered poison until everyone believed her. I thought about how angry I had been at him, not just for leaving, but for how easily he had believed her. But now it wasn't only her word. It was fake evidence. A bought confession. No wonder he was so convinced. That didn't make it hurt any less, but at least now I could see the pattern. She had manipulated everything. After learning all this, I decided I had to make a choice. I couldn't change what had happened, but I could decide what came next. My daughter wanted to talk again, and despite everything, I wanted that too. But I couldn't open my whole life to her yet. I told myself she won't know where I live, not now. Not until I can trust her again. When she called, her voice trembled. Mom, I just want to start over, she said softly. I know, I replied. But we need boundaries this time. She didn't argue. She just said, okay, I understand. I promised her we'd rebuild slowly. I'd stay in low contact, no details about my home, my life, or where I am. Just small steps. I didn't want any chance of information reaching her father or anyone else. I'd see her at milestones, graduation, weddings, things that truly mattered. Beyond that, I needed peace. Later, I asked her to put her father on the phone. There was a pause, then his voice came through, soft and full of guilt. Emily, he said quietly, I'm so sorry. I had no idea. I should have trusted you. I should have listened. I'll do anything to make it right. I still love you. I took a deep breath before answering. No, I said. You made your choice. You never even tried to talk to me. You left me to fall apart while you believed a lie. He didn't respond right away. Then he said, please, can't we start again? I can't, I said firmly. Not after what happened. I'm keeping no contact with you. I need to move on. I was heartbroken and I had to put myself back together. I was practically homeless. I went through therapy to survive it and I'm finally okay. I just want to be left alone. He was quiet for a long time before I added, if there's ever an emergency with our daughter, you can reach me by email. Nothing else. Anything else I'll delete. That was the last thing I said to him. In the 2 days that followed, I didn't hear from him again. My daughter and I began talking again, cautiously. I told her I needed boundaries and she respected that. She gave me small updates, that she and her father had gone no contact with his mother. I told her, good. Don't ever let that woman near you again. She apologized for the restaurant incident too. I'm sorry, Mom, she said. I didn't mean to hurt you. It won't happen again. I could hear the sincerity in her voice. I know, I said gently. I forgive you. It was a hard moment for all of us. And I did forgive her. I still loved her, I never stopped. Mistakes happen and I wanted to believe that we could heal from them. Some people told me to sue his mother to make her pay for what she did, but I'd already spoken to my therapist. She told me it wasn't wise, that it would only drag me back into the darkness I'd fought so hard to escape. She was right. Seeing that woman again, even across a courtroom, could destroy the little peace I'd built. I didn't want vengeance. I wanted peace. All I wanted was to focus on myself and on repairing what was left with my daughter. If I took any drastic step, like pressing charges, it would only cause more chaos and our fragile relationship might not survive it. So I decided I wouldn't go that route unless something truly serious happened. For now I would take a break. My daughter could text me whenever she wanted, but I made it clear I might not always respond right away. I needed space, quiet time. I thanked everyone who had supported me even though I hadn't replied much. It was overwhelming, everything had been. But for the first time in a long time I felt like I was beginning to breathe again. And somewhere else, on another part of the internet, my daughter began to tell her own version of it, her story, her side. She wrote that 5 years ago when she was 16, her father had called and told her to pack her things. That he was on his way. That her mother, me, had cheated and he was divorcing me. So she did as she was told. She said she was furious, that she couldn't believe it, that she thought her parents had been inseparable. When she confronted me she yelled, called me terrible things she now regrets. Then she left. She refused to speak to me, sided with her father, and went to stay with him and her grandmother, the same woman who had caused it all. She said that during that time she saw her grandmother often. That she didn't understand why I despised her so much. To her, the woman seemed kind, generous, full of warmth. She said her grandmother helped her father, bought her gifts, smiled sweetly and made her feel safe. She was a stereotypical loving grandma, she wrote. When I finally moved out of the house I did it quietly. I remember standing in what used to be our living room, the walls still holding faint traces of laughter and arguments, birthdays and movie nights. My daughter's things were scattered across the floor, books, a hoodie, a half-empty mug she'd left behind. I packed my suitcase, shut the door, and left them the home I had built, thinking maybe it would make things easier for her. Maybe she would hate me less if she could keep the place that still felt like family. In court, she stood beside her father, refusing to even glance my way. The judge asked questions, but her mind was already made up. "I want to live with my dad," she said firmly. I nodded even though it broke me in half. The decision was approved. Afterward she didn't contact me. Not a word. It was as though I had ceased to exist. I kept hoping she'd call, even if it was to yell at me, but the silence stretched for weeks, then months. I could feel the weight of her anger even from a distance. She thought I hadn't even tried to fight for her, but how could I fight when she wouldn't listen? When every word I said only made her pull further away. Sometimes I would cry alone at night, remembering her voice. Sometimes I'd imagine her face when she was little, when she used to hug me after school. But now she was gone, standing beside the people who destroyed everything. Her father cried too. I heard about it from others. They said he looked lost, that he couldn't stop talking about the betrayal. And I cried too, but he never knew that mine weren't from guilt. They were from being wronged, from losing everything because of a lie. My daughter thought my tears were from shame, that I was grieving the divorce because I'd been caught. I wish she had known the truth. There were moments when I wanted to call her, to scream, to ask why she believed them so easily. But every time I reached for the phone I stopped. She wouldn't answer anyway. The years passed in a blur. For long years. While I tried to heal, she stayed with her father and his mother, the woman who had ruined it all. From what she's told me since, her grandmother visited constantly. She said they got close. That her grandmother always brought gifts, smiled warmly, told her stories, made her laugh. "She's so sweet," she once told me later. "She helps Dad get through it. She buys me things, listens to me talk about school. She's like the perfect grandma." Perfect. That word hurt. I could only imagine what it must have looked like from her side. A grandmother smiling kindly, handing her wrapped presents, patting her hair, saying how proud she was. While I was somewhere else, alone, unseen, a stranger in my own daughter's story. Her grandmother had always been cunning. She knew exactly how to look loving, how to act the part of the doting parent. I could picture her sitting on that couch, smiling sweetly as she handed over gifts, saying things like, "I'm just so glad I finally get to spend time with my granddaughter." And my daughter believed every word. She told me that back then she didn't understand why I hated that woman so much. To her, the older woman was warm, generous, full of comfort and understanding. She was a stereotypical loving grandma. For the next day and a half, my daughter and I finally started to talk again. It felt strange at first, awkward, quiet, but necessary. She apologized to me, her voice trembling through the phone. "Mom," she said softly, "I'm really sorry about everything. What I said at the restaurant, it was awful. I didn't mean any of it. I was stressed and confused. You didn't deserve that." I took a deep breath before answering. "I know, sweetheart." Emotions were high. It was a lot for everyone. "I forgive you." She went quiet for a moment, then added, "I really do regret saying those things." "I believe you," I said. "But we're going to move forward slowly. I need to set some boundaries first. We can rebuild, but it has to be at a pace I'm comfortable with." She agreed. Later that day, she told me she'd given her phone to her father so he could talk to me privately. I could hear him hesitate before speaking. His voice was rough, uncertain. "Emily," he said, "I don't know where to start. I can't believe what I did to you. I was so wrong. Please just give me another chance. I'll do anything. I love you." My heart ached, but I kept my tone steady. "No," I said quietly. "You don't get to ask for that. You didn't listen to me when it mattered. You believed everyone but me. You watched me fall apart and did nothing. You left me to figure out life alone while I was accused of something I didn't do." He sighed, almost defeated. "I know. I don't have an excuse. I can't stop thinking about what I lost." "What you lost?" I said, my voice rising. "I was the one who lost everything. My family, my home, my daughter. I had to start over from nothing. I was practically homeless for a while. Do you understand that?" He was silent. "I needed therapy to even survive," I continued. "And now you think we can just pick up where we left off? I'm not interested in another relationship. I want peace." He tried to speak again, but I cut in. "If something happens with our daughter, you can email me. I'll give you an address for emergencies. Anything else, I won't answer." He didn't argue. That was the last time I spoke to him. After that, my daughter and I continued to talk cautiously. We spoke about boundaries, about honesty. She updated me on her side of things, how she and her father had completely cut off contact with his mother. "She's out of our lives," she said firmly. "Good," I told her. "Don't ever let her back in. That woman destroyed enough already." She nodded, then whispered, "I'm sorry for how I acted at the restaurant. I really am. I shouldn't have done that." "I know," I said softly. "You made a mistake. We all do. I still love you." And I did. Even after everything. I could forgive her for that moment because she was trying now, truly trying. People online kept suggesting I sue his mother. They meant well, but I knew I couldn't do that. I'd spoken to my therapist earlier in the day. She warned me that going through a lawsuit would force me to see that woman again, the very person who caused my breakdown. It could pull me back into that dark place I'd fought so hard to escape. She was right. I didn't want to reopen those wounds. I didn't want revenge. I just wanted to move on with my daughter and rebuild what was left of our lives. So, I made peace with my decision. I told myself that I would only press charges if something new happened, something serious enough to involve the police. Otherwise, I'd stay quiet. I'd focus on myself, on my healing, and on slowly reconnecting with my daughter. She could message me anytime she wanted, but I made it clear that I might not always reply right away. I needed space, and she understood. In the meantime, I read through the comments people left online. Some were kind, others harsh. One, though, stood out. A commenter wrote, "Here's the thing. You knew your mother, and you decided that everything you knew about her was wrong. You didn't ask her any questions, and you didn't come back to ask as an adult. You chose to abandon her. If your grandmother hadn't confessed, you'd still be estranged from her." Another wrote, "Even if your grandmother made it easy to do, you ultimately chose what you did. At 16, at 18, at 20, you always had choices. Maybe fewer at 16, but still. You could have asked yourself why your family was reacting this way. You could have realized something wasn't normal. You could have tried to reach out." The words stung, but they were true. The commenter continued, "You may be a victim of an abuser, but that doesn't absolve you from responsibility. My suggestion? Get therapy. Understand why you were vulnerable to your grandmother's manipulation. Because she won't be the last person like that in your life. Learn from it, or you'll repeat it." Then another added, "I don't see anything her mom didn't already write about. What I don't understand is how she can call her mom a jerk and bombard her with messages like that. I don't see real remorse, not yet. Both she and her father are sorry for themselves, not for what they did. They need to step back before they destroy her again." And one more, cutting deeper than all the rest, "I have no sympathy for you or your father. You allowed your grandmother to destroy your family. You believed a lie worth $500 instead of asking for the truth. Your mother didn't even know who she was being accused of cheating with? That's how badly you blindsided her. She was wrongly accused, abandoned by her family, left homeless, forced to survive on her own for 4 years. You were 16, you should have known better. At 18 you should have known better. You made terrible mistakes, but your mother paid for them. It has been 4 months now, and honestly, I don't even know if this still matters to anyone. I was going to delete this account entirely, but something in me wanted to write one last update, a kind of closure, I suppose. After this I'll be done. It's been a roller coaster. My daughter posted her side of the story months ago. At first, I didn't realize how harsh or incomplete it really sounded until people pointed it out. When I finally read it properly, it hurt. But instead of arguing, we decided to talk about it in therapy. During one of our sessions, I brought it up. You said a lot of things online that made me look like I didn't care, I said quietly. She looked down, her voice barely above a whisper. I know, Mom. I'm sorry. I didn't mean it that way. I was angry and defensive. I shouldn't have posted it. I appreciate the apology, I said. We're here now and that's what matters. But next time, let's keep family issues between us, all right? She nodded. I won't post anything again. I logged out of that account. I don't even want to see it. True to her word, she hasn't touched it since. I'm paying for our therapy, both family sessions and her individual ones. I told her, as long as you keep going to school full-time, I'll take care of it financially. We've grown a lot in these few months. Therapy hasn't been easy, but we're finally at a point where we can talk about what we feel without either of us shutting down or judging. There are still quiet moments, heavy pauses, but there's also understanding, something we didn't have before. Then came the news about my ex-mother-in-law. My daughter texted me out of nowhere one morning. Mom, Grandma got arrested, she wrote. I blinked at the screen. Arrested? For what? Drugs, she replied. They found stuff in her house. I just stared at my phone for a while and then I laughed, not out of joy but relief. Well, I said finally, I can't say I'm surprised. It felt strange finding out that the woman who had caused so much damage had finally fallen apart. Apparently she's still behind bars. No one has bailed her out and I doubt anyone will. A part of me chuckled when I heard it. I know that sounds petty, but it was satisfying. A small, unexpected moment of justice. But the relief didn't last long. Things took a darker turn with my ex-husband. My daughter told me he'd been acting differently since his mother's arrest. Drinking more, yelling, losing control. He's been really aggressive lately, she said one night on the phone. It's getting bad. I felt my stomach twist. What do you mean by bad? He's drunk all the time, she said. He shouts at me. Calls me names. Sometimes he throws things. Come live with me, I said immediately. You can't stay there anymore. At first she hesitated. I don't want to bother you, Mom. You said you wanted space. Space doesn't mean I'll let you get hurt, I told her firmly. Pack your things. You're coming here. I was right to insist. A few days later things escalated. His verbal abuse turned physical. He hit her. When I heard, I didn't wait another second. I went back to the house while he was at work. It was surreal walking in again after all those years. The house felt familiar but foreign. There were no family photos anymore and the furniture had been rearranged. Still, I could feel the ghost of what used to be home. My daughter stood beside me, her hands shaking as we packed her things, clothes, school papers, and all her important documents. It's okay, I kept saying, we'll be gone soon. We loaded everything into my car and left without looking back. When we reached my apartment, I turned my small office into her bedroom. For the first time in years, she was under my roof again. The first few days were quiet, awkward even. We didn't know what to say. But slowly we began doing small things together, cooking dinner, watching television, driving to her classes. I'd wake up early to drop her off at school and we'd talk about little things on the way, traffic, her assignments, what she wanted to eat later. It wasn't much, but it was a start. She's quieter now than she used to be. I remember her as this bright, outgoing girl always laughing. Now there's a heaviness in her eyes. I know what trauma can do, how it silences people. That's why I'm relieved she's willing to stay in therapy. I suspect she's dealing with depression, maybe even post-traumatic stress. It's going to take time, but at least now she's in a safe place. I tell myself that's what matters most. In a way, it feels like we finally have a happy ending, or at least the beginning of one. We're rebuilding slowly, carefully. After everything we've been through, that's enough. I've said it before, but I truly mean it. I'm grateful for everyone who's supported me through this. Your messages, advice, and kindness have helped me more than you'll ever know. But there's something else I need to say. Some of you have gone too far. I've seen the comments about my daughter, even death threats. Please stop. She's made mistakes, but she's still my child. Sending hate to her doesn't help either of us. It's cruel and it's not what healing looks like. Shame on anyone who thinks that kind of behavior is acceptable. Aside from that, I appreciate all the support. Really, I do. I'll be deleting this account soon. I need to move on for real this time. Someone asked if I've heard from my ex since our daughter moved out. The answer is yes, unfortunately. He started spamming her phone as soon as he got home and found out she was gone. "Where are you?" he wrote. "I'm sorry. Please come back. I didn't mean it." Then within minutes the messages shifted. Apologies turning into anger, anger into self-pity, and then into threats. It was endless. I told her, block him. She did, but he found other ways. New accounts, different platforms. We spent the whole day blocking and reporting. She even had to make all her social media private to stop the messages. It was exhausting but necessary. Another commenter said something kind, that they had followed my story since the beginning, that they were angry and heartbroken for me, and that they hoped things would keep getting better. "I've been here since your first post," they wrote. "I don't think I'll forget your story." I smiled when I read that. It was strange knowing strangers had carried my story with them. I replied, "I can keep the account open if people really want that. I just can't promise to post much anymore. These updates take a toll on me. But if something major happens, I'll make a new post." And before signing off, I added softly, "Thank you. I'm glad you've been here since the beginning. Love this story? Like, share, and subscribe for more epic audio adventures. Stay curious and keep listening."